not many employees enjoy conflict. Some will attempt to manage it, others will avoid it, and a third group will want to do something but they don't know how to manage their own responses and reactions. I'm Andrea Doyle, Workplace Mediator, Conflict Manager, author and presenter. And in this post I'm going to present 2 tips that people who are attending mediation can consider before they walk into the room. Now, by the time a conflict has got to the stage of mediation, usually a fair bit of time has passed, usually quite a few months. And the people who are directly involved are impacted, but also their team members, their family, and usually the HR team. So, as well as the mediator being prepared before the mediation session, there's also some important aspects that the participants in the mediation should consider before they walk into the room. Now, the first one of these is to consider, what are the options I am happy to leave the mediation room with, knowing that I have agreed on them. Now, key elements of the mediation is for people, both participants, to share what's been going on from their perspective, and then they both talk about, well, how can we start working together better? Now, knowing what you want as what does the better look like for you as a participant in the mediation is really quite important. So I recommend to the participants I'm managing through a mediation process to consider before they walk in the room, what is it that you would like to leave the session with, knowing that you've agreed on. Then it's important that they consider, okay, what would be the icing on the top? What if something else was offered that was above and beyond that? Well, that's fabulous, but I want them to consider, what's the minimum that you'd be happy to walk away with? Now, once they know that, it's important they don't become locked into that, because on the day in the mediation session, they may hear information which will change their mind. Or there may be other options presented as a way forward, which they haven't yet considered. So the tip here is to plan what you want as a minimum outcome, but not be locked into it. Still be flexible for what could be a way forward out of the mediation session. Now, the other thing to consider is, what happens if that minimum outcome that you're desiring isn't achieved, and you leave the mediation without an agreement? Now, usually a positive aspect that has occurred is that you've heard the perspective of the other person and there may have been some new information in there. But if this issue isn't resolved, where to next for you? Is it serious enough that you would want to leave your job? Is it serious enough that you or the other person in the mediation might take it to the Fair Work Commissioner? And if that does happen, do you know what actually happens in that situation? So it's important that you research these other options. You might consider leaving the workplace, but is it easy to get a job elsewhere at the moment? Is somebody else taking on people with your skills? So do some research before you make that decision. Now, if you decide that an option is to go to the Fair Work Commission, that's fine. Just be sure that you know what the process looks like. So you've probably heard about what happens in a court of law, for example in the Magistrates Court or the Supreme Court, is that 2 people come together with an issue, and usually it will be the magistrate or the judge who will make a decision. So it's similar. So somebody completely outside the issue is bringing down a decision that will impact both of those. And so too it can be in the Fair Work Commission. An independent person will review all the information that's ahead of them, and if the 2 people involved can't come up with a decision, an independent person will make that decision that will impact both of those people, their families, the workplace, and the employer. So while you have a chance to be a participant in a mediation, it's important that you try as best you can for you and the other participant to come up with an agreement that you're both happy that you could work with. Otherwise, if it goes to the Commissioner, you can be handing all the power over as to what the outcome of your situation will be. Now, mediators should be taking participants through an overview of the process of mediation so they know what to expect and there should be no surprises. So it's also important that mediators should be preparing participants for knowing what is the minimum outcome that they'll be happy to walk away with. And if that minimum isn't achieved, then where to? Are you prepared as a participant to go down that other path? I hope these tips on how to know your limits in a mediation work well for you and provide you with some things to consider before you step into that room. I'm Andrea Doyle, owner of Doyle Solutions. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.